On this episode of the Who Is This podcast, we talk with Dr. Cody Caffall, owner of Moment of Tooth Dentistry. Cody and his family are newer to the Gila Valley, and I can personally say they are an awesome addition to our community. Cody comes from a line of dentists in his family and has been doing dentistry in the Gila Valley for a few years, but just recently opened up his own office. They bring a unique product to our community and their service is top-notch. We enjoyed getting to know Cody better and look forward to the awesome services his company will be providing to our community for many years to come.
So, welcome to the Who Is This podcast, Cody Caffall.
Thank you.
Davis is on the phone. He was sitting here 5 seconds ago.
We miss Davis.
And he'll be back, but we don't know when. So, decided we'll go ahead and get started. You got places to be and people to help, and we want to make sure you get there in time.
Can I tell you a very selfish secret of mine that I've never shared with anybody?
Please do.
So this is just for your audience, all 150 subscribers.
You're very optimistic on that. Yeah. Anyway, after this podcast, we'll have.
That's right. We're gonna get
absolutely.
It'll be there.
Yeah.
I have always been a fan of Joe Rogan, and one of my selfish dreams is to be interesting enough to be on his podcast someday. So
that would be quite an accomplishment.
So, it's never going to happen, first of all, because I'm a dentist and dentists are so boring. and most of the people on his podcast went through some kind of terrible experience and emerged from it, like David Goggins.
Joe Rogan's podcast is the first podcast that I really started listening to, and probably 8 years ago or whatever when I started listening to him. And his style of podcast is what I like, and that it's always someone different. It's always just a conversation, and you hear a lot of really interesting stories, and it's funny too. I mean, obviously he's a comedian, and a lot of times also they talk about the same stuff. Like I tend to find myself not listening to as many of the comedians that he has, because they always are just saying the same thing. But unless it's a comedian that I really like, because I know it'll be a funny one, and I'll listen to those. But he has a whole range of different.
His ability to talk to people that are interesting is just so engaging, and he's always saying that, don't ever listen to me, I don't know what I'm talking about. But that's like where I get most of my information is from his dumb podcast.
Well, and he's at least intelligent enough to hold a conversation with them. I mean, if I sat across from some astrophysicist, I wouldn't even be able to talk to the guy, because I'd just be having a blank stare on my face the whole way.
And at the end of the day, I realize, even if I get to that point in my life, something crazy will have to have happened to me for me to have anything to say. So,
hi, Davis.
Davis, we missed you.
Yeah,
we started.
We're just chatting.
We just shared all of our life secrets and all of our
Cody's dream in life is to become interesting enough to be on Joe Rogan's podcast.
Hey. And I've never shared that with It's only been in my heart, and now it's been expressed through my mouth and to your.
Now it's out in the universe.
It's in the universe.
That's the first step to manifesting, I guess.
That's right.
That's cool.
You know what?
It's not going to happen.
10 years from now, when it happens, we're going to...
Then you'll get those 150 prescribers.
Yeah.
Do you have a YouTube page?
No, I do not. I need one.
You need to get a YouTube page started, have it super niche, and...
Sadly, my IT guy, he made a website for me. And he has a little embedded link, and I sent him a video, and he's like, "Can you just put this on a YouTube channel so I can share the link? Otherwise, you have to download it on the website, and it's really big file." And I just haven't done it, so now it's just like you go to my website, and it says insert video here, it plays. So
you mentioned that being a dentist and dentists are boring. His words, not mine. But I will say that you do not fit the mold of that stereotype of being boring.
Yeah,
if anybody knows Cody, he is not boring.
Yeah, it's sometimes to a fault. That's true. Yeah, I'm a little unorthodox at times.
Do you have your same voicemail message that you've always had?
No, I gave that up.
Oh man, so Cody's my neighbor, and when we first met, great guy. I liked him. I didn't really know him a whole lot, and I called him once before I was super. Didn't know him very well yet, and he didn't answer. And his voicemail was awesome. Definitely not boring, and I'm not going to try to explain what it was. It was just very energetic. And
I can try and recreate it.
Yeah, please. I'm on the edge of my seat right now. Isaac, hype that up.
So in a fit and a burst of inspiration on a road trip, I decided to change my voicemail, and my kids were in the back seat. And so I don't know how they were quiet enough for me to do this, but I got on there and I recorded this voicemail, and I think it went something like this. Hi, you've reached Cody Caffall. I'm probably doing something important, like wrestling a lion or negotiating bedtime with my kids, which is basically the same thing. Please leave me a message. Also, if you're calling about lowering my mortgage rates or buying my house or canceling my student loans, just know that your mom called me and she's very disappointed with you and wants you to make better life decisions.
yeah.
That was it.
So that's Cody.
Oh my god.
And even more, I think he was reserved. He was even more animated. I'm sure because he was trying to make his kids laugh in the background, but very, very animated. Anyways, I listened to that. I was like, I'm going to like this guy.
I love it.
So, yeah. But anyways, Cody, so we've established you're a dentist, not a boring dentist, but tell us about yourself. Tell us about your new office. But what we like to talk about on this podcast is kind of how you got to where you are. So how you've not only, where you live, obviously you're in the Gila Valley now, you're not from here, how you came here and what you kind of attribute your success to and what's led to the success that you've had.
Certainly. Yeah, I had a pretty interesting decision tree throughout my life. My dad is a dentist, and I have two brothers that are dentists. And when I was in high school and they would ask me what I wanted to be when I grow up, hindsight realized that I lived in a neighborhood because my dad was a dentist and I was 6 of 7 kids.
How many boys and how many girls?
There's 4 boys, 3 girls.
Cool.
Yeah. Are you both 6 of 7?
No.
I'm 6 of 7.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
We could be twins.
Yeah.
I think we're probably kindred spirits.
Kindred spirits, yeah,
Yes,
definitely.
Davis always talked about the Gila Valley. There's an elite group of people that are 7 kids, and it's
I've never
5
said
boys.
Elite group, but
He's implied
a
it.
unique group.
He's implied it. 5. It's usually 5 boys or 5. Yeah,
5
boys
boys,
and
2
2
girls.
girls. So
So
anytime someone says 7 kids, he's like,
There's like 10 families I can think of right now that have 5 boys and 2 girls. It's the strangest thing.
Yeah,
Anyway,
nobody
go ahead.
has 7 kids anymore. They're the 7 kid families now are the 14 kid people of our generation. They're the weirdos.
right.
So, anyway, so I lived in a time when my dad's career was already established. We moved into the house that they're in now when I was in kindergarten. And so I grew up in a neighborhood that was very, shall I say, affluent, I guess. It wasn't like uber rich, but upper middle class. And everybody around me was doing well in whatever they were doing. And so I had this impression that I can do anything and be successful. I think I'm going to be a construction manager because my neighbor is a construction manager and he seems to be doing pretty cool. He gets to build things with his hands. And so I kind of had this, I perhaps naive, but really optimistic view that anything that I could do well at. And then I got married and we moved into I found, it was right during 2009, I found a house, a condo that was, before I bought it, it was sold for $210,000 and I bought it for $30,000. And I was like,
Nice.
it was a steal of a steal. It's barely back up to that. But I moved into this condo in Mesa, and it incidentally was in the same neighborhood that my dad grew up in. And now I got to meet all of my dad's high school friends. And I ran into a lot of them who didn't do well. And they tried to do this, that, or the other thing, and it's kind of failure to launch. And then it kind of struck me that, like, if I want to be successful, I got to really, I got to put the work in, and I got to do something. And it doesn't just fall into people's laps always. And so I never wanted to be a dentist at that time, because already my dad was a dentist and two of my brothers were dentists. I was working as a medical assistant, thinking about medical school, and I was doing different things. And I wasn't always the smartest. I was always kind of the funny class clown in the class. And
That's shocking.
yeah, it's been a lifelong thing, I guess. But I actually I interviewed for dental school one year and didn't get in. And going through the interview process is like uber expensive. It's probably like $5,000 of application fees, and
Jeez.
And taking the exam, there's a fee for that, and taking preparation courses, there's a fee for that. And of course, I was just married, and I was like getting a little discouraged, like, maybe this isn't. Oh, I actually, to back up a little bit, I remember talking to my brother, my one closest to me that's a dentist in age, and his comment to me was, there's going to be a lot of boomers that are dentists that are going to retire, and all of the boomers are also keeping all of their teeth. And so there's going to be a big group of dentists that leave the market, and a big entrance of patients that are going to need complex dentistry. So this is going to be a flourishing market. And it also occurred to me that I didn't want to be a dentist because all my family was a dentist, but then I realized that they were going to take care of all the people who wanted free dentistry, like my family members, and I was going to be left with the people who would actually pay me. So I changed gears. I realized I didn't really want to be in the hospital anyways. There's too much politics involved. I wanted to be a business owner, and so I decided to do it. And then I got into the process of getting it into dental school, which is the whole thing, especially for white dudes like myself. I don't have any cards to play as far as getting into dental school. But I didn't get in the first year, and I was pretty discouraged. And I decided to try and get a better DAT score, which is the dental admission test. And so I was working on that, and I decided to apply. And sure enough, I got in and went to USC. And then I got here, worked in Mesa for a couple of years, and then I came here in 2020, and I got to learn from Dr. Skinner and Dr. Lee over here at Copper Hills.
How did you get set up with them? Like, you don't have any ties to the Gila Valley other than right? Like, you don't have. So how did you get in touch with them? How did that all come about?
So when I was 16, I worked in Snowflake at my uncle's factory. He would sandblast sandstone. And I just loved the charm of like small town life. And growing up in Gilbert, it was always kind of pretended to be a close-knit community. They didn't allow commerce to really move in really until recently. So it was kind of a bedroom community. The joke was, if you lived in Gilbert, you'll be born in Mesa and you'll die in Mesa, because there were no hospitals or cemeteries in Gilbert. And so, and that was true for me. I was born in Mesa, but lived in Gilbert. And I just loved it, like the small town, like all the cornfields that were there when I was a kid. There was a neat vibe to it. And I got out of dental school and lived there for 3 years, and I was trying to find my place, and it seemed like I would have to go to Queen Creek, and simultaneously I was working in Mesa. It was going to be a 40-minute commute to get to work every day. And it just like dawned on me that if I want to live the small town life, I should just go to the small town, because there's like one dentist for every 500 people in Mesa. But here it's like 1 to 5,000. And there's communities where the ratio is just a lot better. Mm-hmm. So you get to live closer to work. You get to have a bigger patient pool, and cost of living is a lot less. So it's just all benefits. It was a real scary transition for our family, especially because we are outsiders. We don't have any family here. But yeah, it felt right at the time. It was 2020. Our kids weren't in school anymore. We were in perpetual spring break back then. And I'm LDS, and our ward was in the middle of a split. And so the day that they closed everything down and they told us we couldn't go to church was the night we were supposed to have like a special conference where we were going to find new ward boundaries. And so we found out by way of email that we were in a new ward. Our kids weren't in school, and they were kind of letting us work, but not really. And I was like, there's nothing tying us down here. We lost all our friends. We're not going to school, so let's go. Let's try something new. And yeah, we've never looked back.
So, but how Safford? There's a lot of other rural areas.
Yeah, there was actually a few ads that my wife had seen online. So it's public information now, but Dr. Smith down the road was trying to sell his practice. So I went and looked at his practice, and then Skinner was looking for an associate. And so I went and looked at his practice, and I kind of weighed out the two options. And I think at the time I really couldn't justify just buying a practice outright. I probably could have, but in my mind I felt like, well, that's a lot of money and it's a big commitment.
Mm-hmm.
And so the idea of working somewhere first was pretty attractive. And Dr. Skinner was looking for a partner, and we kind of have to figure out if we were the right fit for each other. So we tried out for a few years. We tried to figure out if it was the right fit, and I don't know, ultimately I didn't feel like I wanted to. Partnerships are just tough. It's hard to be making agile decisions as a business owner when every decision has to be a board meeting. And so I got less and less excited about that as an option, and I kind of told him I was going to probably do something else. And then he ended up selling to corporate, and he still runs the place, but
mm-hmm.
But then I decided I didn't want to do the corporate thing, so I worked in Globe for the last year, and then opened up actually in his old space, which was kind of ironic.
Oh, really? That was it? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So
I wanted to ask you about that aspect of dentistry right now. It seems like, at least in my opinion, it seems like it's something new to me that a lot of dentists are now employees of big corporations instead of being, I guess I grew up here and from here, so I only know like dentists that have have their own businesses. But now my wife's aunt is a recruiter. Her job is to recruit dentists to come work for her giant company. They have offices all over the country.
Yeah.
Why is that happening, do you think? And why would a dentist want to be an employee rather than a business owner?
Well, I mean, I think Elon Musk said it really well recently. I saw a little Instagram reel where he said that being an entrepreneur or a business owner is like staring into a black hole and eating glass at the same time. And
you might have to expound on that for me.
Yeah, I didn't realize this at the time, but like getting into it, I realized you run into all sorts of problems. Credentialing with insurance, you run into problems with drama with staff, with trying to figure out
stuff that you don't learn.
How do I scan a tooth and then design a surgical guide and get it to work with these burrs so I can make an implant surgical. And if there's all these like little problems that you have to sort out, and you try and delegate away as many of them as you can, but you can only delegate the easy ones. The hard ones you're stuck with. And so this whole last year, I've been having to puzzle out all of these little these little problems that no one else can figure out but me. And so it's been really stressful, but it's also really rewarding. And I think, to me, like, what I've realized is, when I was in dental school, because I was in a family practice, that people would rely on me for a lot of, like, well, this is how the business would run in this situation, and I'd answer a lot of questions. And then after 3 years, I realized, having been in my own family practice, I never was faced with any of those problems. And so all I would do is I'd show up, I'd cut teeth, I'd do filling, drill and fill, and I would exchange notes with some of my classmates, and they were all leaps and bounds ahead of me as far as, like, life experience. And because they jumped both feet into practice ownership, and they had to puzzle through all these problems that by necessity of running a business you have to do. And they're simultaneously extremely stressful, but also really rewarding, and you learn a lot. And so that's something that I realized that, gosh, if I'm an employee forever, or if I'm working in my family practice, like, I can make decent money anywhere I go, but I'm not really going to grow and learn the way and reach the potential that I always dreamed of being. But definitely, I think my wife would be a lot happier if I had a corporate job. She'd get the benefits. I mean, business owners, you get no benefits. It's hard to provide your staff benefits too. And so you get no benefits. I'm working like 70 hours a week right now. And it's like all of the problems you can't delegate to anybody. You have to kind of just figure them out yourself. So that, and, dental school, I'm sure you've seen it. I mean, when I was in dental school not that long ago, it was close to $500,000. Now it's 700,000-800,000 is some of the stories I've been hearing. And you're in your early 20s.
Ugh.
And doing the startup, it's, another giant 6-figure loan on top of my house 6-figure loan. And so I can appreciate the new dental crop that comes out, not wanting to take on that loan. I mean, you guys are in the loan market, so you understand this probably better than I do. And I think, I talk to loan people, and they're like, oh, it'll be fine. Dentists make enough money, so you'll take care of it. But every once in a while I sit and ponder. In fact, as I was getting this practice loan figured out for doing this startup, I was actually a little bit excited that when I added up all my assets and subtracted all my debts, I was only $83,000 net worth negative. So I'm getting there. I'm almost to a zero net worth.
Right.
Then I can start getting to the positive.
Right.
So we'll get there eventually. But
Yeah, and that makes sense. I mean, I think that's with any job, is the more risk, the more reward. But a lot of people will have a hard time getting past that risk.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they don't want to take the risk. So, and I'll never blame anyone for that, So you're saying, just bottom line is, if you work for a corporate office, you're able to just go work, do your dentistry, and not have to worry about the other stuff.
Yeah. And you get paid well, but you get paid more as an owner.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to grapple with being comfortable with, okay, well, maybe I'll have this 4-figure number of bills. That's a lot, and it's stressful, $7,000 payment and all the bills or whatever. But if I work hard, this number can get way bigger. And so the profit number can get bigger. And so and not only that, but you can make money off of your team and the hygienist and the work that they do as an owner, because I take on the risk. Whereas any other place you go, it's just whatever you do, you get paid for your own work. So and part of it's just, it's interesting to me to be a business owner. And that's always been something that I've been curious about.
Yeah. So maybe I didn't follow. How long have you been a dentist, or when did you graduate dental school?
2017. So
Okay, yeah.
6 years now, I guess.
6, 7 years.
6, 7. Yeah, 7 this May. I guess it's been 7 years. Crazy.
Yeah, that time flies.
Isaac likes to remind me how old I am.
Yeah.
He's a lot older than us.
But we're both older than Google, though, which
Yeah.
sounds crazy when you think about it.
Yeah, it is. They must have talked about that specifically at school, because I think my kid said something about that, and I've heard other people that said, "Mom, you're older than Google." Did you
I brought it up in primary. I was doing singing time. They thought I was joking.
They thought you were, yeah.
And the sad part is I told the missionaries afterwards, and they thought I was joking too.
That's funny.
Yeah.
You would think they would
20s.
understand, yeah.
I think 1998. So
That's funny.
That's crazy that missionaries right now are younger than Google. I've never put that into that perspective, but that's crazy.
Yeah.
and to them, it's crazy to us that we're older than
Yeah.
Google. They think that doesn't make sense, anyways.
Yeah. So tell us about what's your office's name now? That's one thing.
Oh, yeah.
That's
So
one thing I love about your office.
I thought long and hard about, what do I call it? And they're like, you should do something about Mount Graham or something about the area, Gila Valley, or this, that, and the other thing. And my IT was like, what was it? Like Gila Valley Dentistry.com is available if you want it. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, to me, those were all boring names. So like, I didn't want to just do something with my last name. And so at one point I was like, I should do something really hip, like no cap dentistry or something stupid. Because at the no cap, I looked it up on Urban Dictionary, is about gold crowns in the front teeth, and if it's a cap, then it's a lie. So anyways, so I was like, that'll be.
Hey, that is clever.
You know what? That'll be cool for this year, and then next year it'll be pretty dumb. So, but I liked the idea of like, I don't want to lie to people. I want to be honest. So I want a message. So. Kind of silly, but I decided to call it Moment of Tooth, which everybody's probably seen by now because I'm doing Facebook ads.
Your Facebook ads are awesome.
Yeah.
You do a really good job
So
advertising.
Weston actually helped me with that. He's been on here before. But and we have been nothing but busy. Like we just the phones are off the hook. So yeah, Moment of Tooth Dentistry is the name. And when I got my phone number, they said it has to be 928424, but you get to pick the last four. And I'm like, nobody cares. Nobody's going to look at they're just going to Google it, and they're going to click the link. And so I keep hitting this. Sorry.
That's right.
And so I was like, well, and then because I've been driving to Globe a lot, and it's a chance for me to ponder. I was like, what about that dad joke about the best time to come to the dentist is 2:30? So I called up Valley. I was like, hey, do you have 2:30? And they're like, actually, yes. And so I'm like, that's the one.
Oh, I love it.
That's the phone number. So I remember it. I don't think people quite catch it. And my assistant was like, you're in Suite 2. Should we call it Sweet Tooth? And I was like, okay, that might be a little too far. Might be going a little far with the puns.
So that's so funny.
Yeah.
You could have done like Caffall cavities.
Well, I keep telling Palmer and Johnson they need to change their name to Marky Mark because it's Mark Johnson and Mark Palmer.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're good guys over there.
But the name, I will say, certainly stands out. Like there's definitely that
Well,
factor.
good.
Yeah.
In a good way.
Yeah.
In a good way, yeah.
It's
Well, and I mean, if you want to go even deeper, I mean, Moment of Tooth. This is your moment of tooth. Like you're finally starting your own thing, and
Yeah.
so I'm sure that has some
And
meaning
that
too.
like it must have been a stroke of genius. Maybe it was divine intervention that I thought of it, because my biggest passion is solving the problem right now if we can. And when I was at Copper Hills, they did a pretty good job of helping me to solve problems, but so much of dentistry is stuck in like, okay, you come in, we tell you the problem. Then you go talk to somebody else and they're going to tell you how much that problem costs to fix. And then you have to decide, are you going to do it or not? And then you schedule them back to come in. And there's some like legal reasons for like going over the cost before you get started and that sort of thing. But I wasn't about that life. I was like, hey, your tooth needs to get pulled out. I don't know how much it's going to cost, but I'm sure that it's below $500. You want to go ahead and get numb and let's get this thing going. And while it's getting numb, they're going to come in and they'll let you know the exact price. And then I tell people now, like, and if there's any red flags and you want to leave, like, I'm not going to charge you for this anesthetic, but that way, if you want to just solve it, then you'll be ready to go as soon as they're done with the paperwork. And it took a little bit of convincing to change that paradigm at Copper Hills. And now it's like, I got only four rooms, which I need more, but I got 4 rooms that I do dentistry during the day, and I do all my cleanings in the evening and on Saturdays, so that during the day, if somebody has a toothache and they need a root canal crown or something like that, and if they want to do it today, then I'll tell them, hey, let's do it. Let's do it today. And this is the moment to do it.
I think that's awesome, because I feel like a lot of times people feel like, can't we just take care of it right now? Why do I have to come back in a month?
Mm-hmm.
Or, and it feels like sometimes it feels like it's drug on to try to squeeze more money out of, and I'm not saying that's the case, but I can see why people would interpret it that way. It's another visit, it's another fee,
Mm-hmm.
it's another, so I think people appreciate that. Like, hey, here's the problem. Let's just take care of it right now. I think that's a great business model.
And honestly, that's sort of the game that we have to play with insurance too, because like one problem I've run into is I have this Facebook ad, you've all seen it, $49 an exam, x-rays and cleanings. Well, that works for most people. There are some people though that need a deep cleaning, which is, and sadly, it's the people who haven't been to the dentist in 8 or 9 years. And they finally, the story goes, like, oh, they see their ad. I've been thinking about going. When they do go to a dentist, typically they'll get an exam, and at the end of the exam, they'll say, you need a deep cleaning. And by the way, it's whatever, anywhere from like $500 to $1,200. And so in their mind, they were like, gosh dang, I have been paying for this insurance for 5 years. Now I got to do this deep cleaning that costs a bunch. It hurts. I have to get poked a bunch of times. And it's kind of discouraging to them, because they're like, they finally walked into the dental office, and now they didn't even get their teeth cleaned. They walked out without getting their teeth cleaned. And I've decided for everybody that comes in for a exam, we're going to clean their teeth somehow. And for most people that need just a regular cleaning, that's fine, and insurance pays for that. But for people who need that deep cleaning, and if I do, what we can do is and this is all insurance talk, but we do a debridement, it's like a kind of just get as much off as we can, and then we bring you back for the deep cleaning typically.
Mm-hmm.
I can't bill insurance for both a exam and a debridement. And so this passion of mine of cleaning their teeth means that because of my ad and everything, I'm just doing that deep clean or that debridement. I'm just doing it for free basically. But it's worth it to me, because it means a lot to me that people come to my office after 8 years and finally trust the process and to get their teeth cleaned. And so as a gesture of goodwill, I'm going to clean their teeth somehow, some way. And typically, we still recommend the deep cleaning, but we don't push it very hard. And we give the option to try doing a follow-up visit in 6 to 8 weeks and just see how the gums look. And if they're improving, then we just we take things one step at a time. We really want to not make getting their teeth clean a barrier to getting their teeth healthy, because sometimes those deep cleanings, it can be a little intense with the getting them numb everywhere. And, then there's a lot of, and that's the sad part, is when they get all of that buildup off the first time, there's a lot of exposed dentin, and it's really sensitive. And so really for me, with those people, I really want to tread delicately and try and take baby steps to get them back to a healthy place. And so that's there again is kind of falls back to that I guess accidental mission statement of like moment of tooth, like this is the moment to do something so that we can get it more stable. So silly.
I like it.
Connects.
It's
Yeah,
perfect.
yeah,
Yeah, it makes sense.
So having been here a few years now, have you noticed any like poor tooth habit trends in the Gila Valley specifically compared to other places?
So
That was a really quick yes.
Yeah, it was.
I'm surprised by that. So now I'm like, oh gosh.
you guys have great teeth, I promise. No, on that note, when I was in Mesa, like I say, it was one dentist to 500 patients, and so you had to get real creative with your diagnosis, and not really to an unethical place, but to a place where we were doing a lot more preventative stuff. For example, a lot of people get big silver fillings, and those silver fillings do really well, and they're cheap, and they take care of people really good. But we see a lot of teeth cracking around them. And because there's so many patients, I don't really emphasize it too much, but those cracked teeth, even if they don't hurt, they really ought to be protected so that they don't break all the way. Because most of the time, if it breaks, I can still put a crown on it and fix it. But sometimes I can't. Sometimes it gets into the nerve or it gets into the bone and you can't fix it. And then you have to have a root canal conversation or an implant conversation. And it's just, I kind of joke with people, if you could come in the day before this tooth breaks, that would be the best day. So just be real careful with it until then. And it's, it's always kind of a laugh, but it's true. And in Mesa, I would emphasize that a lot more. If I saw a little open margin, I'd encourage them to get that crown replaced, or if I saw crack, I'd encourage them to get that crown replaced. Well, coming here, there's so many people, sadly, that have tooth decay that's far more urgent, that I see those things still. And occasionally, if I have time to talk about it, I'll talk about it, but I just don't emphasize it as much because I'm so busy removing tooth decay and doing toothaches that need a root canal and a crown that I don't really have a chance to kind of explain the nuance of like, well, this tooth could break. It probably won't break right away, but when it does break, who knows if I can fix it. It would be best if we could preventatively put a crown on it. And so there's a little bit more of like, this is an optional thing. It's not required. And then we would do a lot of dentistry that way. And thankfully, Dr. Lee, and he probably won't mind me sharing this, but he did a ton of fillings, big fillings. And so I get to have this conversation with a ton of people because and these fillings are all doing really well. And there's not decay. There's not any, problems with them per se, but every once in a while those teeth around it will break. And so I just have that conversation with people at times. And it allows me to get them more predictable. But simultaneously, because we were doing a lot of that preventative stuff in Mesa, we didn't really see teeth breaking as often. Or maybe it's because it was just a different demographic, but there's a lot more root canals and implants done here than we were doing in Mesa.
Do you think that, because you mentioned that, there's one dentist for every 500 people there and one dentist for every maybe, 5,000, whatever here. So do you think that that's what they're not here in the Gila Valley because there's not as many dentists? Maybe people aren't visiting the dentist as often as they should be. And that's why they're having those issues.
Yeah, for sure. I think there's a little bit of that, but I think that happened in Mesa too. I think there's been all sorts of research on it. It's like half the population will actually come to the dentist. I mean, yourself included. I finally talked you into coming to the dentist.
Yep. Saw that ad.
Called you out. But it's true. It's like we're not the most exciting people to come visit. A lot of times people come for reactionary reasons.
Yeah, well, and we were having this conversation earlier today in the office with the ladies. I don't go to the dentist. I don't go to the doctor. I don't do anything for myself just because I don't
And that applies to Mesa as well. So there's, and when I came to interview at Copper Hills and he was offering me the job to work there, he made a comment that I thought was pretty salient. He's like, if you decide to get Matt Smith's practice, I'm not going to really see you as competition per se, because I'm not competing with you. I'm competing with Gila Outdoor and people wanting to go buy a Ranger or a side-by-side, and they're going to put their money into that instead of their teeth. And that's so true now. It's like, all of the dentists in town, I've met all of them. They're all really great guys. In fact, most of them are mentors of mine, and I rely on them for lots of different advice and feedback and supplier options. And I just, you know, I don't have anything, I don't have any ill will towards any of them. I feel like we all just need to get people's teeth healthy, and we need to get less decay in this town so that we're not getting as much, you know, people getting into dentures and stuff, because that's not a good life. So
that is so true. Like, I never ever thought of that, or what you just said about competing with things that people want instead of taking care of themselves. But it's so true. I could, as soon as you said that, I could think of family members of mine that are missing teeth or have just kind of crappy teeth, but they've got all the toys in the world.
They got a fancy SUV, or
Exactly.
Listen,
wow.
Listen, I'm already married. You know, I know. I'm just saying. I get it. I'm already married. I don't really have to look good. I would much rather go drive a side by side than have a good smile, and that's a decision I've accepted.
That's funny. My dad's a dentist, and so he's had this conversation with a lot of people, and I'll bring it up occasionally, but he tried to go water. Sadly, it's like my age. I think he was in his 40s. He tried to go water skiing, and I can relate to this, because when I went water skiing last, I hurt for a week and a half. And so to him, he's like, I'm going to give that hobby up. That hobby is not something I should ever do again. Mm-hmm. And as he got older and older, he realized there's more and more hobbies that are going to be more and more difficult. But there's two hobbies that I want to do myself for the rest of my life. And that's to eat food and to socialize. And he had a patient that came in who was in her 80s. And I don't remember if it was two different patients that told him these stories, but he did a full mouth reconstruction on this gal, which, to do a full mouth reconstruction, it's almost borderline unethical on somebody who's 80, but she really wanted it. And then she came back at 90 and leaned into my dad. He's like, thank you for giving me the last 10 years. And he was really emotional about it, because like, he didn't realize what he was doing for this gal, but she really liked it. And it really kind of changed her life. And yeah, it's like, you don't realize that when your kids make you food and you're in dentures and you can't eat it, it's very emotional. And it's very like, you know, it's those moments when you realize, okay, maybe it's time I do something about this. And they sneak up on you, those moments.
See, I think that's a big part of growing up, which I'm still trying to do. I'm still trying to become an adult. Yeah. So, I mean, absolutely, that makes sense. It's definitely my struggle, my vice is sodas and energy drinks, and I know that's just killing my teeth. Mm-hmm. But I have a hard time giving them up. But I know deep down I'm gonna regret it later in life. It's just coming to that realization sooner rather than later, I guess.
Yeah. I feel like one of the best investments you can make in yourself is your smile, because no matter what job you have, that is going to be your first impression for an interview or you know, with a client, whatever is going to be your smile. So I feel like,
and sadly, the goal as dentists is to not make people go to work and they go, oh, great smile, I love it. That's when you know you didn't quite get it. You want them to go to work and say, you look amazing. Like, what did you do? Yeah. Did you change your hair? What's different about you? I can't quite put a finger on it. And that's when you know that, like, okay, I made it look natural enough, but also good that they're confident smiling.
You just reminded me of a billboard I saw once, to the point of people notice your smile before anything, because it was a billboard of this lady smiling. I'm trying to remember if she was like missing a bunch of teeth or something, but then it said, did you notice what else? She doesn't have eyebrows, like a bunch of other stuff, but your attention goes directly to the smile first.
First thing you notice.
Yeah.
And that's I guess why I got into this giant hole of debt, so that I could help people smile.
That's so admirable of you.
There's a sales rep that came. There's this laser that I really want to buy. This laser. It's a CO2 laser, and it apparently you can cut through tissue and teeth without even getting them numb. It's incredible. It's like $120,000 though. But it's like I got a chiropractor friend who is sending people for tongue and lip ties to Scottsdale because no one will do it here. It's like, oh, do I? It's like I'm just looking up at it, and I was like, come on down into this hole, and I'll just keep digging some more, and I'll just buy all the things. Why not?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. That sounds scary.
It sounds too good to be true. But I've seen it in action. In fact, Dr. Swenson in Globe has one, and he literally can. It just dissolves teeth. I don't know how it works, but it's incredible. It dissolves enamel and decay, and they're not numb, and it just like the decay's gone. Puts a little filling. So my daughter had it done, and she didn't like, but she had never gotten numb before.
Yeah.
But it's definitely
not as painful as a shot.
Yeah,
there's some discomfort to it.
Most people don't need anesthetic.
Yeah,
and so it's that good, but it's not. I mean, the way the sales rep described it to me is it's like chewing on a ice cream sandwich. Like it's not awesome, but at the same time, it feels more cold than hot because it's spraying cold water. And anyways, it's an interesting thing. The technology in dentistry now has changed so much, and I got all the latest technology and got into a bunch of debt to get it, and I worry that in 5 years it's going to be 10 times better, and I'm going to want to get the new stuff.
But by then you'll have this debt paid off, so
maybe
you can build another hole, or you can dig another hole.
But truthfully, like it used to be, like if you had a toothache and you needed a root canal, you get the root canal, and then you come back and you get a crown prep, and then you come back and you cement that crown. So 3 appointments, roughly, probably 4 hours total of appointments. Now I can bring them in, I can prep for the crown, scan it, have a crown made, and I can do the root canal while the crown's being made. And so 90 minutes, maybe sometimes an hour, I can be done with root canal and crown. So saving people 3 hours of their time, and then they don't have to come back, which for this town, it's not, but yeah, for this town, you get a lot of people who are like, well, I'm from Morenci, or I'm from, you get people from New Mexico even. They don't want to have to drive here a bunch of times. And sometimes I even get like people up here for hunting. They're like, I just want something temporary until I get home to my dentist in Mesa. And I was like, we could do that, or we could just do it if you want. And so it's been really incredible, like how dentistry's changed lately with all the technology.
I have an example of that. My dentist growing up was 100 years old, and my orthodontist growing up was 100 years old. And they, my orthodontist ordered several of my teeth to be pulled so he could make all my teeth fit in my mouth after he did the braces or whatever. Yeah. And several dentists now is like, yeah, we don't do that anymore. That's so unnecessary. And so here I am, missing 8 teeth,
missing all your
because my orthodontist, so premolars, and then of course I don't have wisdom teeth, but anyway, because my orthodontist didn't want to mess with them, but that's the way things were when I got my braces.
Like they were just in his way, so he just like take it out.
Yeah.
That's kind of how it's been explained to me. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and we're realizing now that so much of our society's problems stem from like not breastfeeding as much, so we're not shaping the top of our mouth as much. We're not we live in air conditioned houses, we eat calorie dense food, so we don't have to chew food, we don't have to breathe through our nose. So all of that,
and isn't like very soft food.
Yeah, exactly. So like our ancestors had straight teeth, but they were just worn away. Whereas now all of us have crowded teeth that look great, they're all intact, but they are. And the reason is, as you chew or as you breathe through your nose, your tongue will shape your palate and it'll push the things out, and all these things aren't really happening anymore. So all of us have crowding. Well, the easiest way to fix crowding is just to get rid of some teeth so we can straighten things up. But it goes way beyond that. It's like you really missed an opportunity to grow your bone so that you could get enough room. And there's a thing called macroglossia, meaning the tongue is too big.
That sounds made up.
Yeah, it's a fancy word.
Just yeah.
Well, going to a lot of classes, they're like, that's all wrong. It's micromouthia.
That sounds even more made up.
Yeah, it's like because people's mouths never got big enough. And
That
so now
sounds
their
like-
tongue doesn't.
That sounds like something my daughter would make up
Yeah.
because, like,
It's
I
a
have
thing,
micro,
Isaac.
I have micromouthia.
I went to school. I know fancy words.
I believe it. That's funny. Micromouthia. That's hilarious. I don't know why I think that's so funny, but
Yeah.
well, what you have? He has an appointment here in a little bit.
Oh shoot.
So before we end this, anything that you want? You mentioned your $49 deal. Do you
Yeah.
want to kind of go into that a little bit more detail, or anything else? Any promotions or anything that you're doing?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, when did you have your grand opening? You should barely open.
Yeah,
Like
2 months ago,
Yeah.
I say, and it was right during the middle of summer, and I had a bunch of vacations planned already, so we really didn't get full swing open until this month. But technically, yeah, it was June
mhm.
15th or something like
Yeah.
that.
But so what's that promotion that you're doing that's kind of
Yeah.
promoting your business right
Absolutely. No, we're going to do $49 gets you an exam, x-rays, and a cleaning. And we will bill insurance if you got it. If you don't got it, we're gonna work with you on a cash price. It'll still be the $49. And then if we see anything, they'll get a coupon where they get $350 off their out of pocket. So it'll be a one-time use coupon. They get to use it if they schedule that day. But yeah, I want to make sure we're getting people healthy, and so
now? I went and did it. I think both of my daughters did. I can't remember if Kyson did or not, and I can't remember if Shaylee did or not. But yeah, I mean, so what something like that usually cost?
see that's the crazy thing. There's what insurance pays us, which is a sad amount, which most people have insurance, so that's why we try and get it. But if we charge our normal cash fee, it's something like $900.
Yeah.
I want to say.
So,
Holy cow.
pretty good
That's
deal.
a sweet deal.
Yeah. So
Yeah. And really, it's an opportunity for me to look at people's teeth, see if there's any problems, and I get to sell myself, and they get to decide if they trust me and they want to do business with me. And so
I will personally testify that your staff is awesome. They're all very friendly. You have
Yeah.
some really nice, girls working in the office. Your wife
Yes.
is working there with
against
you.
her
And
will. Yeah.
Kirsten is
She's
one
doing
of our
awesome.
favorite people.
Yeah.
Cody's our neighbor, so I know Cody really well,
Yeah.
and Kirsten, and they're some of our best friends. So
Yeah.
awesome staff, very friendly. I think you
Yeah.
guys are doing it right over there, man.
We have a great team, and I really appreciate getting to sing to you when you came in for your cleaning, and we had a real moment together.
It was special. It was special.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, you were crying and drooling. I felt like a rock star.
I
really.
actually don't remember this, so now I'm a
Yeah.
little concerned because I think he might have given
We
me
as
some-
dentists, we get a lot of women that cry and drool all over us, so it makes me feel like a rock star. So
That's hilarious.
That's my job. But yeah, appreciate you guys letting me come on your podcast so that your mom and your family members could listen to my story.
Yeah, she keeps teasing me about that. I mean, it's true.
It's a little
It's
low
true,
blow.
but it kind of hurts a little bit. It's true, but it kind of hurts a little
It's true, yeah.
bit. Yeah.
No, this is a good thing you guys are doing. I appreciate you letting me come on. So yeah, if you want to follow us, I think we have MOT Dentistry on Instagram and Facebook, or you can. I think my Instagram is Dr. Cody the Dentist or Cody the Dentist or something. But
Sweet.
MOT Dentistry. And then you are located right there by
Right-
KFC.
right by KFC,
And,
yep.
and Farm Bureau, Michael
yeah,
Ronnie's office
yeah,
there.
he was on the podcast. That's true.
So, right on the highway, easy to find, and
Yes, sir.
it's a great place. So, well, cool, man.
Awesome.
Thanks for coming. We'll let you go so that you can go
Thank you.
some
Thank you.
teeth.
You go clean the teeth up.
Right on,
Awesome. Thanks, Cody. Like Gucci.